So I see 7 or 8 roles in a team, and it doesn't have to be 7, 8 partners. I see 2, 3, 4 partners just share the roles. But I do see you can't just do everything yourself, right? You need to have somebody in the team whose skill set kind of complements in yours. So you got to first sit down and reflect yourself and figure out what kind of value you could bring into the team, and try to find the partners who can complement that skill set. You just pick the skill set that you're best at, and then rely on your team members for other things, and vice versa.
You're listening to the Guerrilla State Investing Podcast. We're not here to bruise your bananas with guru sales pitches, overrated fluff, or any other kind of monkey business. We simply provide the ground-pounding truth about what it takes to be successful in real estate.
All right, today's guest is Yosef Lee out of New York. You're in Queens, New York, right, Yosef? Queens, New York right now. On the other side of the country, I'm down in San Diego, and he's in New York City. Yosef is a full-time W-2 lawyer, Pilates studio owner, and also a multifamily syndicator. And man, I tell you what, that's a lot of stuff going on at once. Brother, happy to have you on the show, and can't wait to get to know how you got all this going on at one time, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Ramsey, for inviting me here. I'm very excited to be on.
So how long have you been a lawyer?
So I got my license, New York license, in 2013 in New Jersey. So New York, New Jersey, 2013, and recently got Florida license in 2018. Okay.
So about 8 years of doing the W-2, and how long have you been actively involved in real estate?
Real estate, it's been about a year and a half. I started early 2020, right before pandemic hits.
Yeah, so I imagine being a W-2 lawyer, or a W-2 lawyer, being a lawyer in New York City, income's probably pretty good from the W-2. What makes you want to start investing in real estate?
So in the beginning, it all started from realizing that by nature of my job, I am essentially trading my time for money. So simply, the more money I want to make, I got to put more time. And my job was already demanding. My kids are growing up and they needed more attention. And, the old days kind of put me into a conclusion that, I got to do something to take my time back. And the conclusion was to create a multiple passive income streams. And along the line, and I stumbled upon a book called Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad and Poor Dad, which I had the book for years. My uncle gave it to me like 7 or 8 years ago. I really didn't read it thoroughly. I just put it on my shelf somewhere, and I happened to just open it up, and this time read it thoroughly. And it was like an aha moment, right? The light bulb went on, and this is it. So I started looking into being an investor to earn the passive income. That's how it all started.
Oh yeah, man. That book is the gateway. And in fact, I have I call it my filter, because I get a lot of people who come up to me and say, "Hey, Ramsey, I know you're like in real estate. Can I pick your brain for a minute?" And I'll ask them right off the gate, "Have you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad?" "Nope." "Okay, cool." And I have a saved PDF version. I'll text it to them, say, "When you read this, you can come back and ask me any question you want. But until then, no." Because it's just, I have to teach too many of the basics that are already written down,
Right.
That book is solid. And if you haven't heard of that book, I don't know what you're doing trying to invest. You got to get the basics down pat. So you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and why real estate though?
Well, so in the beginning, it was, I don't know. I think everyone at one point in their lives, like they have something about real estate, right? Without maybe not knowing too much, we just generally think, one day I want to own something, right? I want to own real estate. So I had that general idea in mind. But I was betting a little bit of mutual fund. I did a little bit of mutual funds. I looked into different kinds, but I really was not attracted. But when I read about real estate and studied a little bit, especially multifamily, the advantages and benefits that multifamily investing provides, I think outweighing everything. Like I just got instantly hooked up by multifamily investing.
That's interesting, and it's my dad always told me that like real estate's a simple man's way to gain wealth, right? I'm about as simple as it comes, but it is. It's everybody can understand it because you either have to rent from somebody, you got to buy a house. Everybody has some form of real estate. They're either renting from or buying from somebody, so the introductory is already there. But you said a year and a half you started, and you've already done 7 syndications. You're a sponsor on one, correct? And did 6 more. So tell me about that, because that's you didn't really just like kind of tip your toe into the shallow end. You jumped all the way in.
I went all in for bigger multi. So I had when I started studying self-educating, I went to a bigger podcast. I still listening to podcasts or YouTube videos, and a lot of people told me to start small, like do a single or flip-in or turnkey, and then kind of scale up. But fortunately, the first 2 people I listened to was Grant Cardone and Michael Blank. And Michael Blank, I recall one of the episode, he said he used to be like successful flipper and made a whole lot of money from being a flipping business. But then when he transited into multifamily, the brokers and lenders, everyone else was literally treating him as if he was a newbie, and his experience as a single family flipper, it was not really being accounted. And then I recall him saying, like looking back, he said he could have just jumped right into the multifamily because it's not too different, and the amount of energy and time is not too much different from single family or multifamily, as long as you have a system and team in place. And I heard that, and then I heard Grant Cardone, always say, don't even bother looking below 16 units, right? So I said to myself, like, oh, okay, these 2 successful guys are telling that. I mean, maybe that's true. So I want to do it too. So I started looking into bigger multifamily, reading about it, reading books and podcasts. At one point I realized, okay, I was doing enough self-education, but I felt like I'm going nowhere. So, what do you call, like, analysis paralysis?
Yeah.
I was reading, studying a lot, but I was not really taking any actions. I thought reading books and watching the YouTube and listening to the podcast was taking an action, but it was really not. I was passively just absorbing the informations. So that's when I decided to take next step, was to join a mastermind. So I vetted a couple, and I joined Jake and Gino, a mentorship group. And then soon after that, I joined MIH Mastermind, 2 different groups, because I saw 2 different values. And that's when the real education started, real networking, and I took lots of actions. So that's where I met all my partners. I had a goal of closing my first multifamily deal in 2020. I joined around late February. And it happened in December 2020. I closed my first deal with my partners, which was JV structure. We had 6 partners. Was 40 unit in Lawrence, Kansas.
Okay.
And that's how I started.
So how did you from New York end up closing a deal in Lawrence, Kansas?
So, as New York, it's like California, it's an appreciation market. There's no cash flow. But when I was educating myself, my conclusion was I got to build up cash. I got to build up passive income through cash flowing assets, right? But I can't really find any cash flowing assets in New York, unless you're like institutional player who wouldn't mind about 3-4 cap rates, right? Because you just need to park money. It's not going to be a cash flowing place here, New York. So I started looking into out of state, reading some books about out of state investments. And naturally, I came to the conclusion, okay, if I want to do out of state investing, I got to have boots on the ground partner who is a local in the market. So when I joined Jake and Gino, I started networking and started looking for boots on the ground partner. And I met my partner there, and he actually was from Kansas City. So he brought me the market. I started looking into the market together. I liked it, and we underwrote deals together, and that's how we found the first deal.
So when you talked about how your goal was to buy your time back, have you successfully done that yet?
Not yet, because I still maintain my W-2. And then I added up more works and nights and weekends by doing this real estate. So I think I'm still in a phase where I'm building up that business system, so that I could, as you said, take back the control of my time. Eventually, my goal is to reduce my W-2 hours, because I still like what I do now. I'm going to probably reduce to part-time, and then spend more time with real estate to create or to strengthen the system. But also, as much as I want to get that time freedom, it's not like I don't want to work, right? It's more of I want to work on my own terms, whenever I want to, with whomever I wanted to, right? At wherever I want to. So I could tell you're also, you love work, right? You love working.
Yeah,
I can tell. I love working too. So it's just, I guess, again, it's just working on my own terms.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm in the military, and as of yesterday, I got 4 years left of the military. And after 20 years of the military, I will be tired of, I would say I am now tired, but I will definitely be tired of being told what to do and where to go and when to be and what to wear and all that stuff. So I'm not done working. I do enjoy working, but I know that one day I won't enjoy working. I want to be able to do that, right? And I imagine you're the same way. You got to start laying the bricks now. And that's kind of my question, because I know a lot, like, let me tell you this quick story. And this is recent news. Bought a hotel in small town, Louisiana. And we were talking to the manager of the hotel, and we ended up getting into contact to a local person that one of the investors knew. And he didn't know that we had bought the hotel. The word on the streets in the hotel was that a couple of rich guys came in from California and bought the hotel, and we ain't gonna do nothing with it, right? And I'm like, couple of rich guys? You talking about me? Like, you ain't a goddamn rich guy. And so the narrative or the assumption is, hey, you buy a hotel, you must be rich, right? And we're talking small town America. This hotel was like less than $500,000. But in that area, that's, you got to be a rich person to buy that. But what they don't understand is it's a bunch of people that, like 4 of us, that all grew up in the area. We've moved away from the area and bought it. And we're just trying to make a living to where whenever we want to retire, we retire. Ain't not one of us rich. And I think the assumption, even if you're just getting into investing, is you see guys who are, on Facebook or Instagram, oh, just closed on 120 units. Oh, just closed on 250 units. No, you didn't. You put the deal together and you bought 250 units with a group of people, and you raised money, and the bank owns 80% of it. But everybody's going to look at it like you're just this big rich guy, when the reality of it is we're just normal people scraping to get along, trying to secure a future for ourselves in the hopes of being rich one day. And there are definitely people like Grant Cardone and Michael Blanc who have made it very big and carved out a good piece of the wealth pie for themselves. But if you're out there right now wondering what it takes to get started, I guarantee me and Yosef don't look any different than you do, right? Just people with jobs trying to make some extra dough.
Right. You get that in. One of the questions I get is like, how much money do you need to start? Some people start with lots of money, some people don't, and there are ways to get into the game without having a lot of money. So it's about educating yourself and just get to know the game.
Yeah. And so the way that I started was I did the small stuff, right? But I went right into multifamily, just small multifamily, and worked my way up. And I can see where Michael Blanc's saying, just doing single family flips, then jumping into large stuff. There's a huge gap between single family flips and a full-on business plan to run a 100-unit apartment complex. The way that I've done it is not the way that you have to do it, but it works you up the ladder. It just takes longer to get to the top. And the way that you've done it, you just jump to the top of the food chain, which is good. And I commend you for that. But whenever you do that, just know you have got to be very serious. There is no tipping your toe in the shallow end and learning as you go when you start to deal with other people's money, right? And I'm sure you've probably felt that pressure and had that accountability put on you because other people's money is involved. Is that fair to say?
That's very fair to say. Unless I was part of the really experienced and successful group of people, I would have not done it alone. I would have not been able to come this far. I will say, the single families or small multis, I see flippers, they flip like 2-3 flippings a month, or sometimes 1 or 2 a week, and they do a lot. My deal, the first deal I did, it took like 10 months for me.
Yeah.
And it's not like I was just swimming in the water, just waiting for the deal. I was like actively looking for the deal on the road, just to find that one on the road, at least, I think like at least 40 or 50 deals. Right. And then it's not like just looked at it. We literally went into every single page of finance just to make sure the numbers working and all that, and the markets. So yes, you can, the way you do it is great. It's a different way. You could learn from small multis and then, grow your way up. But my way was just jumping into the multi. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would take a lot more time. You got to be more strategic. You got to actually know people and be in a team.
Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to is you're either learning on your own, which is the slow route, or you're leveraging other people's experiences. And you have to be able to build relationships. And that, I get asked that question all the time. What comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? The deal or the money? And the answer to me is neither. The relationships got to come first. You got to build those relationships, just like you joined a mastermind group. And you hear people say, don't spend your money on a mastermind group. You don't need to do that. You don't need to spend your money on the education platform, but you do need to pay the ante to get into the room with the people who are serious. They've been vetted, and that they're not playing around, because that's where you'll actually start to meet like-minded people. And that's exactly what you did, right? With joining 100%. Jake and Gino's stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. When I looked into join these mastermind groups, like not consulted, but I spoke to a couple of people. Good number of people, and 80% of them told me not to join because, you will learn things that you already know, or you could learn from YouTube for free or podcast for free. Why don't you save that money and chunk of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 and use it for down payment to purchase property and learn from there? And I was like, oh, this guy's point, right? But also the rest 20% of people told me, Yosef, join the mastermind. You're going to meet amazing people, like-minded, high performance, right? And you're going to learn a lot from them. So I looked them to these 2 different groups, right? And both have their valid points, but I decided to join based on 2 reasons. One, by this time, I already decided to go to big multifamily. And Ramsey, we're talking about, we're not talking about 5-6 figure properties, right? We're talking about at least 7-figure and up. And saving 10,000, 20,000 for down payment wouldn't really put me in any position in that, right?
No.
So that was one reason. 2, the people that I see making things happen are all from this 20%.
Yeah. You got to look for the vice and advice, right?
I'm like, oh, okay. I just listen to these people. Right?
Yeah. I can't stand when broke people try to give me financial advice.
That's right.
Get out of my face. Yeah, 100%.
That's why I was able to just decide on my mind and join the groups.
So whenever you were joining, or you fabricated your team, right? What quality did you bring to that team, and what qualities do you see builds up a good syndication team?
Okay. So I get this question a lot too. First thing I looked for in the group was to find my boots on the ground partner, because I'm out of state, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I did. And I met my boots on the ground partner through that networking. Now looking back, the well-rounded syndication group has 7 or 8 roles in it. So I see boots on the ground, partner, underwriter, capital raiser, relationship person with lender and brokers and investors, at least one experienced person, and a high net worth individual to cover the loan amount, right? Key principle.
Yep.
So I see 7 or 8 roles in a team, and it doesn't have to be 7, 8 partners. I see 2, 3, 4 partners just share the roles. But I do see you can't just do everything yourself, right? You need to have somebody in a team whose skill set kind of complements in yours, because you don't want 2 Rams in one team.
Yeah.
So you got to first sit down and reflect yourself and figure out what kind of value you could bring into the team, and try to find the partners who can complement that skill set. And so you just pick the skill set that you're best at, and then rely on your team members for other things, and vice versa. As an out-of-state investor, and especially if you're a newbie out-of-state investor, there are only limited functions that you could add value to, right? You don't have any experience. You can't be boots on the ground, right? You still don't have any credibility. So you kind of check off this list, and you might end up just with finding the deal or raising the capital most of the time.
Yeah.
If that's how you can add value, do it. For the first deal or 2, you're not going to make a lot of money. You probably find a deal, hand it over to some experienced sponsor, and ask them if you can have some GP share if you like the deal, right?
Yep.
Or you can probably raise some money for the sponsor and ask for some GP share. I mean, but just because you can raise money doesn't mean that they're going to let you into the team. So that's why you got to constantly network with people and build a relationship, so that when there is an opportunity, you can jump on it. In my case, I was a little different because I have a particular skill set that I obtained through a legal training.
Yeah.
So even though I was not a real estate attorney, I could review the PPM. I reviewed the operating agreements. I drafted certain, just simple legal documents if needed myself. And for syndications, the one that I was sponsoring, I was being a point contact person in between all the attorneys. We had a seller's closing attorney, our closing attorney, lender's attorney, SEC attorney. And from their perspective, it was easier to work with me directly instead of talking to other team members who were not able to understand all the legalese, right? So
yeah, they don't speak the language.
Right. My function was, read all this or talk to them, and then distill it into a, simple language, and just deliver that to my team members, let them understand what's going on, get their feedback, and then just deliver that back to all the attorneys, and they liked it. So that's how I started adding value to them.
That's a very good skill set. I mean, if you're a CPA and you can run numbers, well, it's pretty clear you're probably going to be the underwriter guy, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you're a construction worker, you're probably going to be the project manager, and there's a lot of different skill sets that in the workforce don't directly translate, but one skill set that always translates well is money and time. That's something. Yeah. If you got a lot of money, you can play the game. If you got a lot of time and are willing to learn and can help and be boots on the ground, then you have a seat at the table. At least it'll get you a seat at the table, and you can grow from there. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like for us, our first syndication. I was under the assumption, me and my 4-man team who had never done a syndication, we were going to be doing it all in-house, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality of it is if you've never done it before, the banks don't like that. The investors don't like that. Nobody likes that except for you, right? And in fact, we didn't even like it. So even us as a 4-man team, where I picked a guy who's in construction as project manager. I picked a guy who is the CEO of another company as our asset manager and our kind of our task manager. Mm-hmm. And I picked another guy who's a home inspector to do our due diligence. Well, we got our team, right? Mm-hmm. But none of us had ever done a syndication before. And that's the piece that I was missing. But we ended up saying, hey, we need to build relationships just like you did. Built relationships with people who knew how to do syndications and saw a lot of value in our team because they're like, hey, you guys have people who know how to raise capital, do due diligence, do project management, asset management. You got all the skills there. You just need the experience. Well, here we have the experience and we'll leverage your guys' time. And that's exactly how it went down. We got our first deal underway. And like you said, building up that credibility right off the gate. And it worked. It ended up working out. What I tell everybody who says they want to get into syndications, I said, and I'm sure you can say that this is probably true because it sounds like it happened to you. The day you decide you are 100% serious, you are 8 to 12 months from closing your first deal.
Oh yeah,
that's about it. That is spot on because I don't know. I'm sure there's people who've done it sooner, but the average is the day you say, all right, I'm building this business. You got 8 to 12 months until it actually happens. So keep at it, right? So.
Yeah, had I known my first deal was going to happen in 10 months, it would have been a lot easier to bear that moment. But no one told me. God didn't tell me. I thought it was going to happen sooner because I joined this amazing group, right? And I see people closing deals left and right. I was like, when is it going to happen to me? When is it happening to me? It was like a walking in a tunnel without a light, right? I use that expression because it literally, I felt like that. But when it happened, I believe in the law of first deal. When it happened after that, I used that to build a momentum to speak out that this is what I did and this is the proof of concepts to my friends. And that's when a couple of my friends listened to me. Like before, like, what do you do? What have you done any real estate before? Right. Yeah. But after this, like people started contacting me. Like, Yosef, tell me so what do you do now? Like, I see you're doing this, apartments out of state. Like, tell me more about it, right?
Oh yeah. Now they want to talk to you about it. That's right.
They want to talk to me.
People hit me up all the time wanting to know. And I'm telling you, use that. Hey, have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad? No? Okay. We'll come back later. It really is, dude. It's the perfect filter because people will rob you of your time and pick you of your brain ruthlessly until you have some sort of thing that says, show me that you're serious about it. Right. And that's kind of the same concept with the mastermind group. Show me you're serious. They're not necessarily charging you because they know the money's worth it. They're charging you because look, you want to be part of this group. We only got so many people we can focus on. Show me how serious you are. And obviously the money's good too, but you get it, right? Like the accountability, like we don't want to tire kickers,
Yeah, because you're not only paying for money, but also since you're part of the group, you are also carrying our reputation. So we don't want anyone who might taint the name or reputation of the group, right? So that's one way is if somebody thinks, your mastermind is too expensive, but that's how we see our mastermind value. And if you can't be part of it, you can't be part of it.
Yeah, we don't need you here anyway. Yeah. So what's next for you? You've done 7 total syndications. You're going to continue down. What's your ultimate goal with all this?
Well, I think we'll continue to do this. I not only like syndication, I also like JV, smaller deals, like 15, 20, 30 units. I think that's easier to not necessarily property manage, but easier to manage it to reach more generational wealth than have a bunch of investors that you have an obligation to report back. And at one point they want to sell it, then we might need to sell it. But continue to do it until I reach the level of financial freedom that I think is a soft level. Once I hit it, I think more money is not the goal, or meaningless. But more so, I want to as I go, I see that many people are illiterate about finance and financial freedom and passive income, etc. My friends and family. So one of my goals is to make changes in their lives. I want to nurture them. I want to educate them about what I'm doing and what they can achieve and the life that they could envision outside of W-2 or small business.
Let me ask this: is your dad still alive?
My dad's still alive. Yes.
Is he retired?
He's a pastor, so he's working as a pastor. Okay. So I can't say he was retired, but he used to be a businessman, and he went to school in his like late, I think 40s or 50s, so that he could. Oh, really? It's like his dream to become a pastor and do the pastorship.
Okay. Well, yeah, my dad's in his late 60s now and still isn't retired, and I kind of saw that. He's his own business owner, but in the cash flow quadrant, he would be self-employed, right? Not business owner, because he just created his own job. And that is kind of my motivation behind it. Is I while I respect his path and I love the man, that's not. I don't want to have to go to work for my business to work. I don't want to have to trade my time for money, which is the same thing he's doing. It just his business could make more money or less money, regardless. He's got to be there from 9 to 5, right? And that's to me, just like you trade your money to be a lawyer. Although lawyers get paid a lot, you got to work a lot to get paid more. And where does it end, right? There's no end in sight. And that's kind of my motivation, is I want to actually retire and do the things that I want to do. And what I want to do, it may be work. Mm-hmm. But if I want to work, then hell, then I'll work. Definitely. But if I don't want to, I don't have to,
Yeah, you're right. Right. I call it freedom of TPO. That's my goal to achieve. So it's time, place, and occurrence freedom. So basically, it's like you could do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, with whomever you want to with.
I love that. Well, cool, man. So whenever, are you planning on staying in New York the rest of your life, or once you can gain financial freedom, you're going to kick rocks at that place and go out to the mountains?
Yeah, you got it. I mean, once you reach that level, I think I'll probably pick 2 or 3 states and kind of move around, like 3-4 months each. Yeah. I don't know. I thought about it. My wife, she said, once kids are growing up, maybe. Before then, we want to stay in one place.
Yeah, makes sense, man. The family gets a vote. If you and I made all decisions for our family, it would look a lot like probably them eating bologna sandwiches and saving up and working all the time and making every decision financially. Our houses would be ill decorated. We need that side of us, that grounding. Yeah. I know how I am. My wife always brings me back to reality with like, Ramsey, you need to take a break. We need to go camping. And I'm like, I'm glad you said that, because I was planning on just working through the weekends. And as much as I enjoy doing, I don't really that's not what I love doing. I mean, I enjoy it, but I love going out to the mountains. I love spending time with my kids. I just forget to do it because I'm so obsessed. And that's kind of the hard part. I get so obsessed with the idea of being able to do it that I forget to do it.
Mm-hmm. So, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Let's move into where I ask you the 3 questions that I ask everybody, if you don't mind. And the first question would be, what has been your biggest mistake in real estate? What'd you do to fix it?
Fortunately, I have, I don't know, one mistake. I'll say mistake. It was, I wanted it so bad. So I kind of jumped in early, I think. We had a deal that we liked, and we didn't really understand the seller's true motivation. He said, let's skip the LOI and just submit your contract. We hired a lawyer, and we drafted the contract and sent to them. No response. Later, we found out he used our offer to beat with another guy and got higher offer. And then we were just stood up like that. So, I mean, had we been more patient and try to understand the seller's true motivation and what kind of person he was, we probably would have been able to just dodge that. But, we were kind of eagering to jump like, cause it was like within the first, I think 6 months, it was like around June where we found this great deal, and seller was, we thought he was motivated to sell it to us. So we kind of jumped and without really paying too much attention to certain details. And yeah, so I think that's probably the one mistake.
Well, I'm going to ask you this because I don't know the answer to this, but you as a lawyer, while I got you here, what would have been different if you'd have just submitted a LOI and then got to contract? He still could have done the same thing without ever signing the contract, right?
Yeah, because LOI is usually non-binding, but at least we had another layer to think about what we're doing, right? He will probably counter the LOI with his own terms, and we have another chance to just think it through, right? But just by drafting the contract, it's and with the hope of, oh, this could be our first deal, and it's happening within 6 months. How cool is that? And I was so pumped up.
Okay. All right. Well, how do you define success?
Success, to me, success is when I think I wouldn't know until the end, probably the last day of my life, and looking back, trying to connect the dots and say, okay, it was a good life.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it though. Freedom of TPO, that's pretty good. I think once you reach those, you'll probably at least be your best version of success, right?
Yes, you could use that as a probably standard, but I think what if I reached financial freedom and then at the end something happens and I lose everything and I experience some terrible stuff, and then in the end, is my life successful life? I think it could change. So TPO is like it's like a goal, or where I could use as a, what do you call it, pole, right? To
sounding guide. Board or a compass.
Yeah, like a compass where I could guide me, right? So TPO, that's where I want to go, but it's a goal, but not my vision, right? So vision is, I will say, is a lot bigger, and something that I would probably not be able to achieve while I'm alive, but it's something that I aspire to.
Yeah.
It's more about influence and making positive changes in people's lives. So as I achieve freedom of TPO, time, place, and occurrence, if I could influence other people and make changes in their lives and positive ones, I think that I'll probably be able to say that's a successful life.
Okay. Awesome, man. So the final question, because this is the Guerrilla State podcast, what really bruises your bananas in the world of real estate? Like, what's the biggest, I don't know, load of crap you hear, or something that really makes you mad whenever you hear it and you want to set the record straight? It's your opportunity to do so.
I think I'll probably say the one that we spoke today about mastermind, right? A lot of people say that the mastermind is waste of money because you're going to learn, things that you could learn for free from YouTube or online or internet, or just by buying a $10 or $20 books. I see where they're coming from, but I will say joining a mastermind or mentorship group is more than just education. It's truly about the exclusive network that comes with it, and the opportunity and the support from the group, emotional or educational support. And that is huge, like critical. And it was critical for my journey. And you can notice from the language they used, 80% of people told me, you're going to learn the same thing that you could learn for free, right? That's the focus. Free, same. Yeah. The 20% of the group told me, Yosef, you're going to meet amazing people.
Yeah.
You see how the focus is different? Like their focus is on the relationship.
Yeah.
Even from the language, you can tell.
Yeah. That's I listen to a lot of Jennings Smith stuff. Do you know Jennings?
I know. Yeah. He's a Facebook group, millionaire, right? My
Yeah,
first millionaire.
My First Millionaire Multifamily. I like, he talked a lot about borrowed confidence. I don't know if you've ever heard his take on it, but it's a concept where, like, if you're in the room with other people and you see, like, let's just say this, if you're on the internet and you see other people doing stuff that you don't know personally or anything like that, then it makes you less confident because you're like, man, they're all doing it. Why can't I? But when you're in a group with them and you know them and you're around them and you see them doing it, well, now you get to, like, and if you chat with them and they say, yeah, man, you can do this. Like, look, I do this. Here's how you do it. Like, you get to borrow their confidence because now you know that because you're associated with them and you're a group with them, if you get to a point to where you can't, like, you need help, you can basically leverage that person's experience. You pretty much, okay, whatever this guy's able to do, I can get some version of that going because I can borrow that confidence from being, I know I have some reach back to him or her and can move forward. 100%. To me, that's kind of what those groups are for. You're borrowing confidence from each other. Like it seems a lot more okay because if you're just out there trying to do it on your own, you ain't got nobody to call and be your sounding board. Like, hey man, am I making the right decision? You got no mentorship. You got no brotherhood. You got nothing. You're on your own. Well, everything's free, but you can't ask a book a question. You can't ask a YouTube video a question, but you can ask a group of people a lot of questions. And that's really what it comes down to, is being able to get to ask the right questions of the right people and get the right answers.
I agree,
man. I agree. Awesome. Well, cool, man. That's pretty much it. The last thing we'll do is go ahead and tell people how to get a hold to you, how to reach out to you on your social networks, any programs or anything that you recommend or books that you recommend. Go ahead and take this opportunity to do so.
Sure. I'm very active in social media. You could reach me anytime. I'm very reachable. Just send me a text message or through messengers. You can find me on LinkedIn, Insta, and Facebook by using the handle Yosef Your Brosef. So YOSEF YOURBROSEF. That's my social media handle. And yeah, it became kind of my nickname. And
Yosef,
I have
Your Brosef.
Yes, the Brosef. And my website is yosefhlee.com, YOSEFHLEE.com. So yeah, just reach me anytime. I love to share my experience. I love to network and just be, just friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also have a website, syndicro.com, right? SYNDICRO.
Yes.
What can people find on that?
Syndicro.com is more of business, about multifamily business. Yosefhlee.com is more about the people behind it.
Okay.
So if you go to syndicro.com, SYNDICRO.com, you will see what I do and my team and how apartment syndication works, etc. But there's a link that's connected to yosefhlee.com. It's more like, who I am, not just as a business person, but as like a person, human, what I do. There's my virtual meetups and recordings and, pictures that we're having fun, stuff like that.
Okay, perfect, Yosef. I appreciate you coming on to the show, and I wish you luck, my friend.
Thank you very much, Ramsey. I enjoyed your show.
Thanks for listening to the Guerrilla Estate Investing Podcast, where we give you the ground-pounding truth about what it takes to be successful in real estate. Learn more at realfocus.org/Guerrilla Estate Pod.